Good evening and welcome to the October session of the Public Safety Committee. It's good to see everybody here this evening, and those of you out there in the twilight this evening, glad to have everybody and everybody watching on television. We'll begin with the approval of our minutes from the last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I've read the minutes, and with one minor correction, I'll make a motion for their approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Have a second. Any other corrections anyone has seen? If not, all those in favor of the minutes as approved and with the correction?
Aye.
Say aye. This evening, we've changed the agenda and asked that the Sheriff's Office give their report first this evening. We have some things that we want to go over there. They will give their regular report. In fact, what we're going to do is let them go ahead and give that regular report as they normally do at our safety meeting. And then what we're going to do, we thought it'd be good that we could go over some of the things that dealt with the recent escape we had at the jail and let them go over what had happened there and give you some of the details. There's a lot of things that can come up that are not correct, that people seem to get told and whatever, and we want to get the truth of what's going on. And also I understand there have been some things because of this, that there have been some changes made and improvements made and things of that type too, and I thought the committee might want to hear from those and ask any questions y'all might would add too. So we'll ask that you go ahead with the report that we have, and you should have it there on your iPads.
Just usually take questions from y'all if you have any concerning financial reports. We have.
Page 1, we spent 100% of our item 1.194 jury and witness expense.
We've not spent any in that.
Okay, thanks. Misread it.
We still got it.
Do, don't we?
Is there anything y'all know that is out of the ordinary that?
The building improvements and maintenance may have to come back on sooner than I would like.
Okay.
But we'll deal with it, just a month at a time.
As the building gains age.
Well,
And in
the
use.
water leaks and stuff are getting a lot worse. And, that ties into your electrical, which ends up, instead of $1,000, can end up being 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 computers because the water's leaking on computers, and it's just starting to add up and it's a flaw in the design of the building. It's not anything I know that we can fix. It's the water chase, the pipes. The water comes down, it has nowhere to go but on office space.
So what line item is it?
That would be
34, 36.
30, yes. Any of your equipment repairs, 336, 338, not 338, that's vehicles, we're doing fine. I should have that, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm in
You're in the other
yeah,
book.
707.
So these are things we will have the opportunity to look forward to.
When the building is getting made, they will tell you that the statistics on a detention facility, it will age much faster than any other normal facility because of the 24-hour use and the type of facility that it is. I think if we looked at it and based on the year, the age of our building, based on their formula, it's 85 years old, the way they look at it, for detention facilities. So, but our maintenance crew are doing a great job. They do a really fantastic job of being able to put things back together and to try to do preventive maintenance to catch some of these things. Unfortunately, when water goes, it's coming down, so it travels along pipes and chaseways and wherever it wants to go, and then it will find its way to the bottom.
Which is usually an office.
Yeah.
You got, that's kind of been an ongoing issue.
Has been.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
You got a line item 790 other equipment. You spent about
On that would be things that, maybe some rental equipment, like some boom, or what we have out there, excavator.
Yeah, that and a
Things like
lift and some
that.
other things.
Lifts.
Working on some lights in the parking lot, things like that. So they rent items to work on other stuff.
All right. Other questions?
You need a motion on this part.
We need to prove their report.
Approve the report.
Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the report, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll let you go into give us information on the situation that we had out there.
And what I can tell you is a lot of what we would discuss normally is very likely going to be used in the criminal prosecution of these two individuals. So that based on the institutional security, there's certain things in the prosecution of these two, one of which would be charged federally. A lot of those discussions about the movement and things that they did and the recordings, the logs of the button pushes for releases of doors and all that stuff is actually going to be used in their prosecution. We did have our people look into it. We've had our people investigate it. We've had our maintenance people pull the logs on the actuators that open the doors. We did investigate the aspect, and let me first really quickly and succinctly dispel a rumor that's been perpetuated by the media. There was no involvement of this detention officer with either of these two escapees. She didn't know. That was one that was buzzing out there for a while, and it's totally, completely untrue. We looked into it. We investigated it just like we would any other thing that's been said. With this, it was a simple fact of a person being overwhelmed by the events that took place in that facility, and without getting into it too deeply, I want to make sure I don't say anything that would cause us any problem in the court case, because anything we talk about could be brought back up. When that event took place, there was, when an officer is attacked, there's a code that's called out, and everyone rushes to that aid. There was also an alarm pulled at the same time. So this person got a little bit, we'll say, bewildered and overwhelmed, and unfortunately began hitting buttons, thinking it was our people responding. And I can say this based on seeing the video, I think these two inmates were just as surprised to go out that back door as anybody else. But that was still the fact that they did escape. We've changed some policies, we've changed procedures. Captain Fly and Chief Landy have changed some things about how they operate within the facility. We've looked at some of the doors. The doors have had some modifications in the past, we can say that. They're looking at correcting those modifications so that procedures can't be used to jeopardize those or thwart that door lock from functioning. They have, just for instance, 400 male cell doors, and 100 of those have these plates that we're putting on to keep these people from getting on there. These plates are $55 a piece to block them from being able to do what they do to compromise the door lock. There are changes in procedures on how they move through the facility. We'll say that movement policies or movement functions throughout the jail are being addressed again on how our detention officers move in such a way that it maintains their level of security, and it takes away the advantage of an inmate being able to surprise me. The one thing I can say, I think most of you know, our detention officer, she is in good shape. She is a fighter. Thank God for that. I can't get into the details of what the intent was, but I'm glad she fought. She's back at work. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can really share about the nature of how the escape took place, but please be assured that it's being looked at. And also, I want to make sure that we invite all of you on the Public Safety Committee to come by. I would love to see you all come by, look at the operation. If you get a chance, we'll make arrangements, whether it be as a group or individuals. We'll make sure that you guys can come through and see things within the operation. And that way I can that way, in some way, you can be reassured that, again, this was, my best description for it was a perfect set of errors. With that, we learn our lessons and we adapt and we overcome them. We make changes to prevent it from, or to mitigate it from happening in the future. Is there anything you'd like to ask that if I can answer, I'd be happy to answer if I can.
What's your normal policy if a correctional officer's taken hostage, just say they didn't get out, but they were telling the tower guard that if they didn't open the door, they would hurt the guard? What's your policy on that?
We won't negotiate. We'll continue to work with him. We won't accept that demand. We'll negotiate as best we can.
Yeah, that's the SOP on that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If I had to the best of my knowledge, it sounds like we haven't changed anything, have we? No. Okay. I don't think. Obviously, we can't let the inmates run the facilities.
I'm glad you made the offer for this committee to come out there
We'd
to
be
the
happy to.
facility, because I know the times I've been out there, it always runs through my mind how anybody escapes, because I can't figure out how to get out of there. It is a difficult, you have to study that, I mean, if you're not familiar with it. And I think that is
When a person has 24 hours a day to sit there
Yeah.
and think about things, they
Thinking
can come up
about
with some
those situations
pretty
and
incredible
whatever.
ideas.
But we have to think about that, this facility, it's been what, 2001 was the last time, or when was it?
So, yeah, 2001.
So,
Prior to that, the only one I know of is when I worked back there, and that was 1987, wasn't it, Chief? Is that right?
I think so.
When they went out to the outdoor rec.
With the exception of the old facility, when you had
Right.
300 people and 88 beds, that was an issue.
Yeah. Chris, is there anything we left out? Anything you
Just that we're doubling down on checking security devices.
Mhm.
So we have, we're going to be overlapping shifts a little bit so that all the doors are checked more than just once a day. So multiple times a day and random.
They've also put some new policies in place for the inmates, and they've made an announcement to every inmate in the facility, which at this moment right now is 822. Any person who compromises a door lock and opens a locked door to walk out into a day room will be charged with escape. We've talked to the DA. He's going to back us on that. That's what other facilities are doing.
Is that also rigging it to not close properly?
Exactly. If they're tampering with that, they're going to be charged with that as well. But if they open the door after lockdown, then they are essentially facilitating an escape on their part. And I think they're, matter of fact, you guys have, they made it known that they would be charging them with the tampering of the door locks. You've charged some already, correct?
And if they tear up the lock, they're also charged with vandalism over 1,000. So we're tossing criminal charges on them too as a deterrent.
Is there anything additional you think you need? Cameras, anything like that too?
We're in the process of adding some more cameras. We identify as we go. We'll have people identify spots, and obviously to put the number of cameras in a facility that large, if you had to go back and re-engineer putting a camera in every cell in there, we looked at it. Not just the cameras alone, but the cameras, the storage. You're looking at somewhere in the excess of $4 million to retrofit that jail for the cameras, and then that's just for storage for a short period of time, a high definition, ruggedized, tamper-proof camera in every location.
There was some talk about a scanner, a body scanner to
Yes.
keep out
Yes, sir.
contraband.
It's
What's
there.
the
They
story
can tell
on
you more
that?
about it. It's under, I think it's still
No, we're
awaiting.
good.
It's awaiting.
Waiting the state to come.
That's it.
We're having an inspection by an independent party this week, next week,
Friday.
Friday. Then the state will sign off because it is a radiation machine, so we have to have a state
State has to
permit
inspect it.
to do it.
Everything
And
else is ready.
We should be ready to go then, next week.
with experience, is a hard teacher in a lot of things that we do. And, I think we'll have to look at the long run, that this right here will make us better
Yes, sir.
in what we have there. And you've already said that, and what's coming here, just the placement of the new devices on the locks that we have. That's going to make those a lot better than what we had in doing those things. But I do want to commend everybody from the department that's involved in the recapture.
Yes, sir.
You did an excellent job in getting that done, getting that accomplished
Yes, sir.
in that matter of time that you had there. And I just think you all need to be complimented for
Thank you,
that.
sir. But, Mr. Chairman, it's a phenomenal thing to see the outpouring of support, not only from other law enforcement agents and numerous law enforcement agents help us out, but also from the community. They would call us and tell us that, hey, maybe we saw something there, there's something over here we need to check. We ran a lot of calls. We had people coming in. We had other shifts in. We were making sure that every call that came in was investigated as a lead.
I'd like
And it worked.
I'd like to
Yes.
second that, because I think it was, what, 35 hours? Something like
Yeah,
that
yes,
they were out.
yes, sir.
And having been on several escapes while I was with the state that lasted in the neighborhood of a week.
Weeks.
Or sometimes more.
Yeah.
That's really, in the urban environment that we have now, it's really remarkable that you were able to
Well, with what had just happened
recapture
over
them
in some
within
counties
30-something
just
hours.
kind of north of here, these massive manhunts. We thought that, oh, wow, is it going to turn into that? So thank goodness it did.
I was impressed with the way you guys got the information out.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I was teaching school in another county,
Yes, sir.
and it came across our neighborhood watch program, and I was able to call my wife, and you guys got the information out, just update it as often as you could, and I
We
appreciate
alerted
that.
via a couple,
Thank
there's a
you
couple
for
of
that.
methods that are very, we're fortunate to have in this county. One of them is the Alert Work program, powered by Nixon and Everbridge. And we were able to pinpoint from the jail, we went out into a radius of several miles and activated every landline phone that was registered with it. And also any cell phone that came into the area was given a message, both recorded in text of the alert. And then until we found out there was a credible location, we didn't trigger it again, but we also have that capability for anything else that happens here, which is nice to know. So I really encourage people to register on Alert Rutherford so that it gives you weather alerts and things like this that all the agencies within Rutherford County have the capability of activating.
Very good program. And also the cooperation between our school systems and
Yes.
how they work together with it and what we did there. So, as I said, a dear teacher, but we also saw how we all worked together and how it did work. And sometimes that we have to look at the positives of what comes out of something like this. So.
The SRO division did a fantastic job as well because they made sure that the schools that were anywhere near what we might have presumed the proximity in which these people had been seen or traveled, we made sure those schools were cleared before anything happened.
Okay.
And kept an officer there to maintain that fact.
Anyone else? Any questions or whatever?
I told a couple of guys before the meeting that one of my daughters teaches at Brant's Chapel, which was
Yes, sir.
expected. Kids there were on lockdown. They couldn't go out to play. Of course, when they got home, they couldn't go out either. So when it was announced that these bad guys were caught, there was a resounding cheer went across that school. And I just wanted to let you guys know that. So.
Thank you.
Well, you are appreciated, and we thank you tonight for coming
We
in here
appreciate the support, we really do.
and giving us this
Great.
information and answering these questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Emergency management.
Let's go hold chair.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Mr. Cast could not make it this evening. He is in Chattanooga at the Emergency Management Association of Tennessee Conference in Chattanooga. So I'm here this evening. Nothing extraordinary over the last few weeks. We did conduct two large-scale hazardous materials exercises with Rutherford County Fire and EMS Special Operations. It went extremely well, plus the addition of several people that had some good OJT that aren't familiar with hazardous materials response. We're able to get a little piece of what they're getting ready to get into in that capacity, so it was well received by all. We've had numerous amount of trainings taking place. One is another hazmat IQ course that we hosted and also attended at the EOC, regular business as usual. We responded to 3 calls. It's been kind of slow, but that's a good thing. All of them were resolved without further incidents. We had a bomb threat at United Methodist on Manson Pike, a natural gas leak on Lowry, and a missing person on Woodbury Pike. They were all resolved without further incident. Basically it.
When you do these hazmat cases, do you bring in other counties that surround us?
We can. It's dependent on the need and the scope of the incident. This was for training in-house. It's usually, we will get other counties to come in to examine the exercise and act as controllers and evaluators for the way we operate, to allow outside influence to come in and give their opinion on how we operate, things like that. It lends a little bit more credibility to the exercise when we have outside opinion that are injected.
Looks like for the missing person, you used drones.
Yes, several. We had drones from the Special Operations Division, as well as OIT was able to respond as well. They have some FLIR, some forward-looking infrared nighttime capabilities that they were able to respond and assist us with that as well, so it came in very handy.
How cool.
We're getting into quite a proactive UAS program here in Rutherford County. It's starting to be recognized across the state. We're working hard and diligently to build our capabilities to be able to respond to the needs of the people of the county and get everybody trained up to spec with FAA regulations and certified pilots. And it's coming full circle finally. We found out several years ago when we had the big hazardous materials event on I-24 with the chlorine release that they're worth their weight in gold in being able to collect intelligence without having to put first responders in the way.
Anything else? Anybody?
Good job.
Thanks, sir.
Do I have a motion to approve this report?
Move to approve the report, Mr.
Do I
Chairman.
have the motion? Mr. Irvin, seconds. Anything further? If not, all those in favor of the motion to approve the report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Juvenile detention.
Good
Ms.
evening.
Duke.
Okay, so in front of you, you have our usual monthly reports for the previous month, which in this case is going to be September. As usual, we do have some counties who we're waiting to get some checks from as far as our billing. I'm not concerned about any of those. We should be getting those the next couple of days. They usually pass in the mail before we come to public safety. On our STD stats, I was just going to point out that most times people usually associate chlamydia with being a problem for young ladies and young gentlemen. Also have this problem, and this is a good example this month. Our positivity for males was higher than for our females. Our facility programming report, we were lucky enough to be able to plug in Ross Lester, who does the drum therapy from us. You might have seen his articles a couple times. It's in the Daily News Journal. He does the Everybody Drum Some that has been at a couple of the local events lately. We enjoy having him there. Any other questions, I'll be happy to answer, but those are the highlights.
In that drone program, whatever they're, do you separate the sexes or are they able to go in at the same time?
No, we
I noticed
always,
there are only men in this as well.
well, right now, we don't have any young ladies at detention. We are all men, all young men right now. But yes, in general, we do not combine our boys and our girls together in any of our groups.
Move to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve the report, second. All those in favor? Approved. I believe you've got a memorandum of understanding?
Yes, we did this, we started this last year. This is the same language in this MOU for the Correctional Work Center. As you saw last year, we're just updating it for this new fiscal year. I'll answer any questions that I can. We are expecting to have our secondary relocation site is the Ag Center out on John Rice. I went to the Ag Board meeting this past week, but they didn't have enough to quorum, so we weren't able to discuss it at that meeting. So I'm hoping that next month I'll also be bringing an MOU from the Ag Extension. And then we are also working on an MOU with Williamson County. And they have their county attorney currently reviewing that to see if they want to tweak it a little bit. And I'll be bringing that as soon as we can all agree on the wording.
You have to do this every year.
Yes, our COOP plan or whatever, we update it annually. In addition to just being our policy, the Mayor Ketron has also asked that everybody, if you're not currently updating annually, to go ahead and submit to him a new updated COOP for this current year. So it works out good for us because it's time for us to do that anyway.
Lynn, if for some reason, say we had a tornado or whatever, your building was damaged and you had to enact this, would the prisoners, would this agreement only cover the Rutherford County prisoners, or would it also involve the ones from other counties that we have, or would we send them back to their own counties?
We use these MOUs for many different purposes. When we've had our bomb threats in the past, we have used the Correctional Work Center very short term. Okay, we were there for a couple hours and then we returned. In a situation like you're talking about where the building is actually damaged and we're unable to return, the plan is that all of the young people that are being detained from out of county or any other agencies picked up by those counties or by those agencies, and they take them somewhere else. Then we are tasked at seeing if there are any young people who are detained that can be released or furloughed to a parent or guardian, with something we work with the judge. And then anybody that's left, young people who have serious charges, those would be the ones that we would expect to have in a long-term situation. So the workhouse is our first go-to. If we have a tornado situation on our campus, I expect the workhouse, or excuse me, the Correctional Work Center may also have damage. That's why we always plan for secondary locations and even third. The one thing that we're going to be working on that the county attorney is looking into for us is we have some young people who have been transferred to the adult system, so they're currently bound over to circuit court, but they're being detained in our facility. Many of the detention centers across the state, when they have young people that are transferred, they immediately go to the adult facility there in that county. So because the way the courts have decided to house the young people that are transferred to circuit court, in our facility, we may have some issues with where we're able to place those young people. So, county attorney is currently working on that to see if we need to have a MOU that is specific for that population.
You answered my question with the first there.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry,
No,
gave
that's
you more
good.
than you wanted.
No, that's all right.
Also, under, if we ever have a situation like that where a state of emergency is declared, then the mayor has, chief executive of the county, has pretty broad discretionary power as far as negotiating contracts and deals and everything to take care of all that. So whether we've got an MOU or don't have an MOU, if that ever happens, then those emergency power statutes will come into play.
Right, we'd like to have something in place so there's no question, and in that scenario, the mayor could give his attention to somebody else and that we would be tended to. That's our goal, is to have that not be something on his list of things to address in an emergency.
Ms. Duke, I noticed we don't have a date in this one. When will it go into effect?
This has to go, does this have to go to other committees, or does it?
I think it just goes to the commission. There's no money involved.
Yeah, we could, maybe the day the commission
Approved at
meets.
the commission?
Yes.
So it's open in there, and I just want to be sure. Anyone else? Any questions? This will just take a standard motion as we go.
Move to approve this.
Motion.
Second.
Kevin, second. Further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Work Center, Mr. Cope.
Amen. This month's report starts off with our Correctional Work Center Board meeting. Probably the most notable topic to speak about there is the outbreak of hepatitis A within the country. It's not just in our area or in the state, but it's nationwide. And what we're doing to try to work on those things locally, and that's make sure that all of our staff are offered the vaccination and all the inmates in our care are offered that vaccination. We did that, worked along with the health department 2 weeks ago, and got all of those taken care of. Next on the list is our work release program statistics. We picked up a new company called Oflex within the past couple months, and we're working on another for the females, Swan Cosmetics. That will 2 female offenders per each job, so that bumps our numbers up in the females to right at 10 or so that's working on work release now.
What does Oflex do?
I'm not sure what they do over there. Jason? Car parts. I know there was some sort of automotive thing. Next would be our yearly report. No significant changes other than the fact that we've been helping out by taking some of the some of the stress off the sheriff's office. We've taken, our count is probably up 30 per month in the past month, so we've taken a few more of those that we normally would not be taking. And we worked that out with the sheriff's office, and mostly it was from people that we would had some medical issues that we're looking into, that we can house them without necessarily working them under any kind of strenuous conditions. So we're taking a few more of those than we normally do. Our worker report, you can see projected total combined savings of $113,472. That is our report until we move on to the train contract.
Okay, you have this report.
Move to approve the report, Mr. Chairman.
Motion approved, second. All in favor of the approval, say aye.
Aye.
Carries. The train contract, you all should remember we sent out an email. This was something that come after the last meeting that we didn't get to bring before you, and it's gone to budget, it's gone to the commission, it has gone there, but we said we would bring it back to this committee due to the fact that it did miss this committee. So any questions you may have, Mr. Coe?
And our train contract is basically every 5 years. Of course, I think there's a small increase this time, but not a whole lot, probably $300 a year, something like that, not a whole lot. That's what keeps our chillers chilling and our boilers boiling, and make sure that we have heat and air over there, so it's very important. We've had some issues with that. The building, I know you heard the chief talk about the age of the building and how someone that's living 24 hours a day inside of a facility will age that building a lot more. Our building is the same way. So we've been dealing with these the heat and air issues for a while, but Train does a really good job in keeping up with that. It's time to look at their contract and re-upping that. So that's what we're bringing before you today.
And the urgency of that contract, the reason that we did it the way that we did it, that if we didn't do it within 30 days, we would lose some time as far as the maintenance agreement is concerned. And those buildings are just too important to operate without the possibility of having somebody that would be taking care of looking after those. So that's why we did it in this process. So,
Mr. Chairman, I know that you've already got feedback from us,
okay.
but just to make it official, I move to approve.
We have the motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thank you. Just a reminder that if you all, I think you all got the email about our prayer breakfast on Wednesday morning. We'd like to see you there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Wednesday. Thank you.
OSHA.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'd like to report in the month of September, we had a total of 29 injuries requiring medical attention. From your report, you can see the breakout there, the different types of injuries they are. Brings the year total to 198. Of that, 133 are OSHA recordable, meaning they've either had restricted days, lost time, or required something beyond regular first aid, prescription drugs, something like that. Restricted days claims right now are 55 for the year, and the lost time days are 29, with the remaining of that 133 being other recordables. Next page of graph, you'll see this year as compared to the two previous years. Well, it looks like the claims are up. If you look at the next page where it shows the incurred dollars, you'll notice that the incurred dollars are actually much lower than what it was for the previous years, which means the injuries are not quite as severe. But still, any injury, we want to try to prevent that, but the incurred dollars are down. The incurred dollars for the 29 injuries that we had is $32,395. As you turn through the report, you'll see that the Board of Education had 20 of those injuries. The total incurred dollars there were $18,815 for their 20. And Rutherford County General, the county had the other 9, and the incurred dollars there were $13,580. And on the last page of your report, you'll see where we broke that down between the different departments, those being the sheriff, ambulance, service, Paul's, juvenile detention, and solid waste, so it's spread across the county.
The dollars may be down, which is important, but the incident rates are up. Is there anything that you've been able to attribute that to, increasing the number of employees, that type of thing?
Well, that's true. In fact, you talk about the employees. The county's going to open 2 new schools next year. That's going to probably add somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 new county employees. The county presently has almost 7,000 county employees, and we're going to have more than that next year because of that. And of course, as you go, then we do have increased number of injuries for that. Also, in the school systems, it's difficult with some of the children in controlling and things like that. I have to say, teachers, I admire the teachers because there's so much things that they cannot do in the school system to discipline students. And a lot of times teachers and special ed people and all, they take and they can't control the situation, and so they just have to kind of ease through the situation. And unfortunately, that's where when you stop and you look and you see what's going on and you start to look at the Board of Education and you see that they had 20 injuries, and you see struck or injured by, and you see 11. And of course, this is the first month of the new school year. The kids are coming back in from the summer where they've had freedom during the summer to now they're coming back into a structured, organized environment. And a lot of times students kind of push back on that during the school year. And so that's why I say, I just want to mention that. You look at that and you say 11 struck or injured by. Teachers take a lot out there, and I just want to recognize them for what they go through, especially at the beginning of the school year. If you look at your report, and then you go back and you look at what happens in September and October, and you can see August is up there, and then starts to creep down September, October, then go into November and December. And of course, school's out for Christmas and that, and then if we go into the summer months, you can see also where that happens. So you can see where a lot of that falls with the school system and what goes on through that.
Might be good. I don't know whether you want to do it or not, but we've got 2 graphs, one the number of injuries and the number of dollars, and graph the number of employees, and we can see how that's going up month after month and year after year, and that'll attribute a lot of those increase in the incident rates.
Take a look at that number of employees. Correct.
He can do it.
You can.
I can do that simply because we do have to have those numbers reported for insurance reasons, and I get those every month. So do that.
Anything else? Have a motion to approve the report?
Motion to approve the report.
Second. B. Mr. Irvin, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I would like to just bring one more thing forward. This is the open enrollment period going on right now. The last day of open enrollment is November the 5th at noon. And so this year it is 3 weeks long because we've changed the platform that the employees go on to in order to do their open enrollment. It's a little bit different. The office has been very busy with people coming in and things like that. So I just like to encourage all county employees to go on the website, look and try and go through that and work with their open enrollment. And if they have questions, to call us or come by and see us, we'll be glad to do that. But please don't wait till the last minute because, again, it closes at noon on November the 5th.
Okay. Good deal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ambulance service. We've got a report and an amendment.
Sir. We made 2,763 calls for the month of September. Average response time was 7.3 minutes. We had 59 DOAs. 23 of those were sent for autopsy. We billed $1,516,020. Our year-to-date collections is $2,076,094, which puts us on a projection of $8.3 million. We had $542,055 in insurance write-offs and $315,231 of collection agency write-offs. Table at the bottom of the page just lists the total miles, 47,343, as well as maintenance costs and fuel costs, and cost per mile, which is 52 cents a mile this month.
Mike, is that response time going up? I have trouble getting from here to there anymore. Is that response time going up because of traffic issues?
Actually, it's come down just a hair.
How do you do that? Maybe I need to know your secret.
The-
Red lights.
That doesn't guarantee it, I can tell you.
You're correct. It's more difficult. In fact, I was talking with Mr. Sandlin this morning, and I told him it took me 45 minutes to get last Friday afternoon from Burton Street just out to Thompson Lane. It's a challenge getting through the traffic. The way we got the response time to go down a little bit was when we started implementing 12-hour trucks, because those people are not in the station; they're already in the vehicle, and so you don't have the time that it takes the people to get from the inside the station into the vehicle and get going. So you save about 2 or 3 minutes. Right there.
Innovative, good job.
I see those times. That just.
You'll see them sitting around,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they just kind of roam around, which is okay because it's making a difference. Second page lists basically our activities other than making ambulance runs for the month. 10 different in-services and trainings, and our community service team had 21 things listed there. Actually much more than that because they combine things like football games and those things that they attend. Our SORT team has several things listed there, but if you look on the next page, that gives a more accurate description of exactly what it was that they were involved in doing. They made a sometime in the future, if y'all would be willing to, I wish that you would come out to our SORT building and conduct your meeting out there. I think you'd be pretty impressed with some of the stuff that's out there. I know Joe's very familiar with it, and Virgil's familiar with it, but I think it would be of interest to you to see what we have, and we can demonstrate some of that stuff for you if you'd like.
It's a good idea. I know the time we went out to Kittrell, Commissioner P invited us out there for that one. That was a good meeting to do.
Mr. Chairman, we may want to schedule one of those things after the first of the year, sometime in the spring, maybe even at the jail as well.
The only thing we get into when we do those is that we don't have the television, and but I think it'd be a great idea to do that. Give you an opportunity to see it.
Maybe we could get the county's drone to hover over the table.
I think
We may work up something with IT, I don't know.
we might be able to work that out. I'll check and see. The following page, I report this to you every month, and I'd like to give you just a little bit of history about it. The county departments that operate 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, are severely limited when it comes to sick hours and people who are off from work, because that essentially translates into either paying overtime for someone to work or shutting vehicles down, which is the last resort. And Rutherford County has a very generous policy when it comes to leave time and so forth. I've been discussing this with Sonia for a while, and also with Mayor Ketron for a short while since he's been in office. But we started translating that at Mayor Ketron's request into dollars, because I think that maybe that does make it more realistic. Sick time is costing us this past month of $36,528, so it's roughly $40,000 a month that it costs us. So the whole purpose behind this is to see if we can come up with some ideas that will make this less. What it's worth.
I mean, the training falls within it also, doesn't it, in that sense? Losing manpower and some
Yeah, you lose manpower. To give you an example, we were so short-staffed during the recent 2 deployments from Rutherford County for help in South Carolina and Florida that we couldn't even send anybody. Rutherford County Fire Department sent some, and they took our equipment with them, but we just didn't have the personnel to let anybody go. So it does affect your results. There's a thank you letter from Laverne there, as well as a letter from Lifelight, and then there's a letter from one of the citizens that we picked up. That concludes the report. I do have an amendment for the budget.
Okay, we'll take a motion to approve the report. Mr. Irwin seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, your amendment?
The budget report is a good one, budget request. We received donations, $7,000 from St. Thomas Hospital, St. Thomas Rutherford Hospital, and $7,000 from the Middle Tennessee Emergency Physicians Group to go into our scholarship fund for paramedic scholarships. And we'd like to put that into the budget and then transfer it right back out into staff development, which is where we pay our scholarships from.
You've heard the request. Do I?
Motion to approve and send the budget.
Yeah.
And thank
Call.
these 2 organizations for their donations.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Irvin?
Here.
Commissioner Gammon?
Here.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
We meant to say aye there, didn't we?
We got the minutes.
It works either way you want to do it.
We'll get to be a lookie.
All right, fire and rescue. Looks like we got another one to stand in tonight.
Yes, Chief Farley is with Director Cass down in Chattanooga at the EMAC conference, and I'm sure they're learning all kinds of stuff that's going to be valuable, but that means y'all have to put up with me for a few minutes.
No problem.
I have the report, and then I also have something that's not on the agenda to bring to, we'll go through the report first. For the month of October, Rutherford County Fire Rescue, by ourselves, we responded to over 400 incidents. 2 of those being structure fires, 224 emergency medical calls, 23 motor vehicle accidents with injuries, and we had a couple of extrications during that time period. On a county-wide basis, or actually year-to-date, go over the report year-to-date, we've responded to just over 3,814 emergency responses. That puts us on a path to surpass our number for last year by about 100 runs if everything goes, and we're just now getting into the busy part of the year. 42 of those structure fires, 2,044 emergency medical calls, 207 motor vehicle accidents with injuries, and we performed 17 vehicle extrications. County as a whole, which includes our volunteer departments, the county as a whole has run over 4,887 calls with 83 structure fires, 118 brush fires, 62 vehicle fires, 855 motor vehicle accidents, 33 of those involved extrication, and that brings us to that number 4,887. Structure fire report, we had 2 fires in the month of September, both of them on the same day. We had one on Amherst Drive and one on Couchville Pike that both of those information will be sent to the codes department so that they can follow up. And then our fire investigation unit investigated both of those fires. They were both accidental in nature. The one on Couchville Pike resulted in significant damage to the structure. It was caused by a failure of an electrical system on a four-wheeler. And the other fire later that afternoon was a light fixture problem. That concludes the report, but Chief Farley wanted me to bring up, as part of this report, that while we are the fire department, and if you notice, a large majority of our responses are for medical emergencies. One such medical emergency occurred just last weekend in the Walter Hill community. We received a call of a 41-year-old female in cardiac arrest. Squad 52 from the Walter Hill station, pardon me, arrived just under 4 minutes and took over CPR from deputy and applied the AED and shocked the patient 3 times, and then assisted with EMS en route to the hospital. And by the time they left the emergency room, the patient had a pulse, was discharged from the hospital a couple days later, has a very good prognosis for a positive outcome. And that's just an example of the entire teamwork of all the emergency services in the county. Sheriff's Department, they almost always get there before we do and start good work, whether it's start CPR, sometimes they have an AED, sometimes they can hit a patient who's overdosed with Narcan, and then we get there shortly thereafter, and usually the ambulance is right on our heels. So it's a big teamwork operation, and this is just an example of the kind of outcomes that we can have when everything works like the way it should and the way we try to make it work. And that is my report.
Excellent work on that. That's showing her money on these AEDs is well spent. There's one life probably saved because of that.
Absolutely.
Like those positives. Very good.
It's a good report, and I move to approve it.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Shanta. All those in favor of the report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Yes, sir. This didn't make the agenda, but we're up against a deadline for the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program. I'm sure you're all aware, we were awarded one of these just a few weeks ago for gear. The grant application deadline is Friday, for the grants that will be awarded next year. We'd like permission to apply for one of these grants. Our intention is to purchase self-contained breathing apparatus to replace all the self-contained breathing apparatus countywide. That includes Rutherford County Fire Rescue and all the volunteer departments. The county fire department's in a little bit better condition than the volunteer departments. But to say that their self-contained breathing apparatus units are obsolete is being in kind. They were purchased in 2001. They meet a standard that's not they meet the 1997 standard of NFPA 1981, which has been revised 5 times since then. The technology in them is just old. If they can get them fixed when they need them broke, I would be surprised, because the parts they just quit making them. They have to update and the 2018 standard will come into effect probably after the first of the year, so that'll be the 5th revision since these air packs were purchased.
These new ones will have higher capacity.
The plan is to purchase, the latest version is, they have a 5,500 pound cylinder, smaller profile. Right now, the county, ours are 4,500 pounds. Most of the volunteer departments are 2,200 pounds. The plan is to buy a 5,500 pound cylinder that'll hold 45 minutes worth of air. It'll be a smaller profile than what they're used to now, so that will help with the operations. But the technology is better, built-in patch devices, built-in communication devices, stuff like that. Compared to what they're using now, it will be above and beyond. From monetary-wise, we're looking at $750,000. There's a 10% match, and then we would like to apply for $900,000 and use the balance of that money to to upgrade our communications infrastructure.
You're talking about $900,000 total?
Yes, sir.
Just not in addition to the $750,000, but
Correct.
900 total.
900 total.
And the cost to the county would be 10%?
10%.
Or $90,000?
Now, normally what happens is you apply for, hypothetical situation, you apply for $800,000. Chances are you're not going to get the whole $8,000. Whatever money they approve, you'll have to match it 10%.
Okay.
But we're looking at having to, if we can't get a grant, we've tried this will be the 3rd attempt at an AFG grant for air packs. We have reason to believe that we'll be successful this time. Of course, nothing's guaranteed when you work with the federal government. But if we can't acquire funding in this manner, then we're probably going to have to look at doing it through the budget, because the volunteer units are just,
They're in bad shape.
they're in very bad shape.
Does this have to go through budget? And when does budget meet?
To apply for the grant,
I don't believe to apply
That just
for the
goes
grant.
You'll have to go through budget once it's
When we get the
approved.
money.
It's approved.
So you just need approval from us, and you can make your application before Friday?
Correct.
And
The
then-
application package is ready.
Okay.
We just need to get permission to submit it.
I don't know about you guys, but $90,000 is a lot of money to me. But as it relates to our budget and the safety of the firefighters and emergency responders in the county, I just think it's money well spent to pick up $810,000 to spend $90,000, and I move to approve.
I'll second that.
We got a whole lot of seconds, and I'll just call for the motion. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Very worthwhile. Yes, sir.
You don't want to kill out unless else calls.
There you go, sir.
Good evening, everyone.
Probation report.
Yes, sir. We have the recovery courts. I don't know how it comes in first, if you really do probation first or recovery.
We'll just follow your lead.
Okay, we'll get through the stats part of the recovery courts. As you'll see through, I won't go through all of them, but the 4 different slides that you have between the drug, DUI, veterans, mental health, our numbers are about the same. We have almost 130 plus or so at the end of September in those programs, with predominantly still prescription opioid being our #1 drug choice, with heroin behind it. We're ever increasing, it's ever steady.
Anything alarming about the report? Just
No, sir, it's pretty cut and dry. We just send this out to let you know kind of what we're looking at number-wise, what the drug trends are that we're seeing, that we're treating, their class attendance to show that they're here, those kind of things. I don't know any other way I could really give details outside of violating HIPAA or any of their other rights, so this is kind of the basic report I can give to you.
Do you have any idea of the general source of where they're finding most of the drugs, or, I mean, just a general?
Yes, sir. A lot of it's coming in. Majority, it used to be they would go through and they would do a lot of doctor shopping, or they would go and they had pill mills that they would go to these pain clinics, and they could pick up a lot that way. With the crackdown of all the laws and everything else, now they're seeing more fentanyl coming in, and it's being pill pressed into what it looks like an opiate or a Roxy or anything else. So they're believing that they're buying on the street that it is, an opiate or an Oxy or whatever it may be, and it's really fentanyl. So that's why the overdoses are occurring and all these deaths that we're seeing. It's just because it's not what it is. So, it's very cheap. They can order it from overseas, China, any of these other rogue places. They can ship it in, and then they just press it into whatever form it is. And it's sold and it's pushed out. That's the danger of it. And that's the harm to law enforcement too, on the interception and anything else.
You want to take these separate or just kind of run through them?
I think we normally just go through them, don't we?
Yes,
Take
sir.
them separately.
We do. The only thing that we may do is it's not really a budget amendment. It's almost with in our 3-year grant that we have with the federal government through SAMHSA, we have a sub-award recipient with MTSU to do our data analysis for the grant. With this grant being federally under their fiscal October to September, when we try to budget, or any other our sub-recipients try to budget, sometimes they hit it and it's off. So I just want to bring this before you to go to budget and everything else, that MTSU sub-award is going to be reduced by $5,970.56. It's just because the way it hit at that time, they did not start their work when it should, or it's kind of a lapse. So by the time the fiscal year ends, there's going to be a shortage. There's not enough money to carry over. So it's really just a reduction. It's not any money taken away or anything from the grant. It just means that MTSU is going to draw down that $5,970.56. It's just going to go back, and hopefully year 3 we can get it. But just because of how we do our budget and everything's out in the open, we just want to make sure that we put that out there, that that money will not be expended. And we just need it in the minutes that it's here. We're not hiding the money. We're not keeping it from MTSU.
Okay.
And then on
We
probation.
might want to do this one separate and then
I was going to say,
Oh, sorry.
we'll pull that one out separately.
Yes, sir.
And go ahead with your others. We'll come back and vote on that one.
Yes, sir. In probation, our month-ended expenditures for September were $115,626.25. Our cost and revenue for just the fees in Scram were approximately $48,736.98. Those individuals placed on a voluntary payment agreement for the month to August, it should be September, were $13,163.50. To date, for the fiscal year of 19, we're at $21,506.50 for voluntary payment agreements. And then those that have failed to enter a payment agreement in the last 3 months with the clerk have been right at $69,000. We are in the process of working with the courts to try to stop that and minimize that. So when they leave general sessions courts and they do not go to the clerk's office, that there's some mechanism that we could do that's going to keep that case from ending. Because a lot of them are just walking out that door and never making that payment arrangement. So the case ends that day, but they're not following through on their debt back and making their payments. So we're trying to find a way that we can look at recouping that and keeping that from happening. don't know what any suggestions anyone may have. I just don't know
And
how
then
we're
they'll
going.
walk them to the window when they finish.
Well, there's not a, each general session doesn't have a deputy or a clerk in there, so it's hard to take them from there downstairs to the clerk's office to ensure, to stand with them to make sure that they're paying. So they're basically the judge's clerk is handing it to the individual or to the attorney, to the public defender, and they're taking them downstairs, and then no one really has time to sit there because of just the volume of individuals that are coming in every day. So that's the, I don't know the workaround on that.
Do you have a number of repeat offenders or anything on these?
These are all in, I'm sure there are, but these specifically for this quarter are all going to be just individual, no repeat, because it's just going to be those that were on probation and their time has ended.
Right.
And then the only thing they had outstanding was just fines or fees, so they should be going to the clerk to make that agreement, and they're just walking out that door.
Can you bring a clerk to the courtroom?
There is a clerk in the courtroom, but they're there doing the judgments and that instead of signing them up for the payment agreement, because it takes about a 30-minute process to put them on a payment agreement, to go through the rules, the details, taking the driver's license, setting up those agreements, figuring out their agency level, how much money they can afford to pay, those kind of things. It is a lot of money, and that's, there is a way, I'm sure, we're just trying to figure out what that process is. And that's just our fees. That's not including what the clerk's lost. So the court costs related to those cases, I'm not even including that fee.
Aren't you also still hampered somewhat, some of the federal court rulings, of course, how far you can press this?
Well, we can't prosecute them for failing to pay. But I think that jurisdiction shouldn't end if the court's order is that, in order for your case to finish, we're going to put you in a civil remedy. I still think that there's still some jurisdiction. I'm hopeful. That's what I'm waiting on the attorney to kind of come back with us on, but that it doesn't stop there. That we can at least go after it as an attachment to people to come to this. I don't know, but that's just a lot of money. I hate to see it walk out that door. Because it just puts the burden back on the taxpayer to pay to cover that cost. That's the good, bad, and the ugly. Other than that, that's my report.
Okay, well,
It's not as pretty as the fire department, so I'm sorry.
well, that direction there, that's what we have to deal with. Motion to approve the report.
Second.
Get a second? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, we need to deal with this amendment.
This seems like this is just information only. There's really no budget amendment to this. You're not amending the budget. Your budget, you're just not spending money, right?
Lisa wants me to kind of put it in the minutes and then to take it to budget and then to the full commission, noting that there was an initial budget amendment done for this grant, signifying that, certain subrecipients are going to receive X, amount of money. Because the way MTSU's amendment process is, they want to make sure that they're not going to receive this $6,000, that it's not because we're failing to give them that money, it's just the way this fiscal year is between federal and
The
state.
difference between our fiscal year and the federal fiscal year.
Right, and it's just the money's not going to be
So
withdrawn.
it's not really a budget amendment, it's an informational amendment.
It's a pass-through entity.
Right. So it's just $6,000 that will remain untouched.
It's the FDP Research Subaward Agreement is what it is.
Yes, sir. There's a whole lot to it.
That's what it is. Do I have anyone who would make that a motion?
I move that we forward this to budget
Budget.
for their consideration.
Commissioner P, have a second?
Second.
Curley. Call roll on that.
Commissioner Irvin?
Here.
Commissioner Gammon? Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Serrano?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Thank
you, sir.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a great evening.
I think the next meeting, this Blue Northerner goes through that we're up here.
Frost on the pumpkin.
I tell you, it's here right now. Pause. Mr. Gregory.
Yes, sir. So for the month of September, we had 593 animals coming to the shelter. You can see the breakdown there of the jurisdictions. We had 311 animals that were adopted, 38 animals euthanized. The biggest thing I like to look at is the live release rate that's right below that first box. For dogs, our live release rate was 93.6%. For cats, was 90%. And when you factor in other animals, it gave us overall of 91.2%. 150.
When you say live release,
Yes.
is that where we're neutering cats and releasing them to the wild? Or is
The number below that, the 41, are the cats that are going through the TNR program.
Okay.
The live release takes in, for the dogs, it takes in adoptions, it takes in reclaims, it takes in animals that came in for surgery that went back to the original owner. So basically what it's looking at is every animal that went out of the building through the front door versus the back door. Out of that, animals that were reclaimed, 154 of those were reclaimed by their original owners from the surgery programs. On the next page, we had 101 animals that remained in the shelter at the end of the month. Nearly 2,500 people visit the shelter and over 2,400 calls and voicemails for the month. And we had 1,632 calls received and 1,673 calls that were completed by our animal control officers. And they traveled 10,528 miles. Fiscal year to date, we've had 1,842 animals into the shelter. You see at the bottom there, the overall live release rate was 90.2%. Almost 8,700 people visited the shelter and almost 8,000 calls and voicemails. 5,969 calls received and 6,010 calls completed. The officers traveling since July the 1st, 35,698 miles. The last part of the report is the Rabies Exposure and Bite Report. We had 31 bites that were reported for the month of September. 2 of those animals were sent off for testing. Neither came back as positive. And we had 10 other exposures. 1 of those was sent for testing, came back negative as well. So we've not had a positive since February still.
In Rockville, right?
That was in Rockville, skunk.
Got my skunk.
So those reports are.
Motion to approve the report.
Motion made to approve. Got a second?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the report, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We're down to any other business. I just want to mention our next meeting in November actually falls after Thanksgiving. It'll be the 26th, so that won't interfere with us. The meeting in December, it falls on Christmas Eve. Anybody wants to be here Christmas Eve?
I won't be here.
So we either skip December or we go to a different date. But there are a lot of departments that are involved in this committee. So you can't go to the next week because that's New Year's Eve, so you can't go down there. What is the third Monday? Is there another committee? And will there's not anything meets on the third Monday.
In December?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's the 17th, but it's just 3 days after the commission. So you would either have to maybe go to January 3rd, change it to a Thursday, 17th, well, the week of the 17th.
That's what I was going to say, the week of the 17th with that.
Or you could go to the 26th, that's a Wednesday.
No, not Christmas week.
Christmas week you won't find anybody.
Well, you have the week after the commission. Or
Does anyone have anything on the 17th?
So,
Why don't we just look at canceling it unless there's pressing
If something
items
comes up.
that needs to come up? And
We can do that.
And if
We
we
can
do
do
that,
that.
you set the date?
we'll say now, but right now we'll say that we will not have one in December. And if we hear a lot of
A budget amendment?
gnashing of teeth from the departments out there, we'll we'll see what we can do and go from there. But right now, we'll just say right now, there will not be a public safety meeting in December. And we'll try to get everything taken care of in November. Any other business?
Mr. Chairman. This Friday from 11:30 to 1 o'clock, the county departments are going to be doing their 6th annual chili cook-off here on the square, here at the courthouse, right outside. Hopefully it's not going to rain. So come and eat some chili and participate in all the events here. And so winding up their United Way fundraiser in all the departments. So that's how we kind of do it up. And of course, it's a good fundraiser too for United Way.
When was that, Steve? What time?
From 11:30 to 1.
And it's a gut-wrenching experience.
Rich experience. Does that fall under our OSHA report?
Well, the Correctional Work Center had their chili cook-off today, and they invited me out to actually judge chili. So, and then Friday, I had the property assessors. They had their chili cook-off, and so been having a lot of chili here the past few days. So it's all good too.
Yes.
It's all really good.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to remind everyone, I went and voted this morning at the Ag Center. There was a crowd there to start with, but the staffing was such that people were moving through very rapidly. And exercise your right to vote, and continue. Early voting will be going on for the next few days.
Okay. Any other business? Is there a motion we adjourn? I didn't hear it, but I'm saying we adjourn.